there and welcome, PolishLynx here. And yes, the gods of gaming have chosen another game from ATP project. Heatwalker. Let's see what this is about. I read something about selfishness and such, but let's see. Oh no, the cicadas. My goodness. This was just crazy. Where did I put the... There! The morning sun is still stinging my eyes, but it's much better now that I've put on my sunglasses. Part 1, days, sorry, 22 Celsius. Not bad, nice temperature actually. This summer is so awful. Oh, it's only 22, man. It's nice. Temperatures are unbearable already in the morning. Oh, okay. But yeah, if it was 22 through the day, constantly, that would be a nice temperature. I wouldn't complain. The tram station I have to get to every morning is a solid 15-minute walk. There is barely any shade from these low houses. And if that wasn't bad enough, this city is at the seaside. Which means it's also incredibly humid this time of the year. I sometimes like to think I've resigned myself to this, but on days like these, I wonder how I managed to live in this place for this long. Finally I was steering the tram station. Luckily the trams are air conditioned. Unless you are in Poland. And thought it does, actually now they are, but not in my city. And thought it doesn't help much in the afternoon. In the morning it does its job. So that's nice. I got on the tram. I don't have many of these tram rides left. Two minutes until the train leaves. I guess the advantage of getting on at the starting point of the line is that there is always a tram to sit in. But then one has to wait until it's time to go. 1 minute. Oh, my phone. Lunch in park today? Okay, 12:30. Yes, same place, right? Okay, see you there. Claire. I can't help but reminisce now because she's my first and still my dearest acquaintance in Japan. Even though she left the company where we originally met a year later. Fortunately, she now works merely a block away from our new office building, so we are still able to meet from time to time. And as the day that I leave Japan draws closer, I often find myself realizing how much I will miss her. As a friend, I think... Well... I keep thinking about that. The as a friend thing. Because there was a phase when I had a crush on her. Or maybe not a crush. That seems as an inappropriate way to call it. Even if it's just in my mind. They were genuine feelings. I woke up and was looking forward to just being with her at work. And on a good day would have a few exchanges and that would completely make my day. On my way home I would be thinking of her. But I never had the courage to ask her out. Still, I was always so happy for the moments we had together. And then, I think the intensity of those feelings simply couldn't stay as high. How so? and then her move to the other company. I think that accelerated it all. I always thought that was more or less proof that she didn't have the same feelings for me. No, I mean, I would say that's a proof that you didn't have such a strong feelings. Otherwise, why would she leave? Because she would get better paid there? Of course. That is complete nonsense, and I knew it. Still, it was enough of a stir to cause me to, I suppose, panic. And the fear of rejection did the rest. In the end, I don't know. That's the worst thing you can do, actually. I feel like getting rejected is better than not saying anything at all. But it doesn't matter anymore. She's a friend and it's good that I haven't lost her. Today, I had to get off the tram one stop earlier to pick up my test results from the hospital. It was a routine check and everything was fine. The doctor has already called me yesterday. But at my age, I have to start being diligent about regular checkups, so... And if a mild inconvenience saves me trouble down the road, I will gladly take it. After I took care of the administrative things at the hospital, I walked to work. And it was strange to observe. Because sometimes this happens to me. I walk around the same surroundings, and for nothing has changed. They just feel different. It's... You know, occasionally this happens when I'm walking past usual places at an unusual time. Or I think when I'm being in a different state of mind. I think when I look back at the times I remember most, it had to be when it was Claire's last day in our team. The whole city felt different. And it has stayed that ever since. Now, I feel something similar. It's by far not my last day of work, but as I think about it, it may very well be my last work day with Claire. Because I did hear her say she was being sent to Matsuyama offices for 2 weeks. And then I will start my vacation, where I really want to visit Tokyo one more time before I leave. After which, the day my contract expires will officially be reached. And that will be it. Then comes my packing week, and then I go back to Belgium. Belgium. Wasn't the guy from the F1 game Belgian? Maybe I don't remember correctly, but yeah. So, in theory, it's over a month that I'll still be in Japan, but in practice, I'll probably not see Claire after today unless we would somehow deliberately schedule something. Which I assume we would because we are friends, but still. I don't know. There is something about the situation that makes me remember that time she left our team. And I don't know what... A colleague taps me on my shoulder. Hey, good morning! I reply, switching to my work self. Ready for the madness? She asks, and... Oh, it was her, okay. And for a second I have no idea what she means. Then I recall we have a meeting where the project committee needs to approve the budget for the following year. For some situations there is no preparation. I quote a famous movie. I don't know the title of the movie though. The line has become an inside joke in our team. Back when Claire was still there and we were in the old building. I just miss her. Part 2, Radiance. 32 Celsius. Okay, that's a bit much. Everything alright? I said, oh. Everything alright? I said instead of greeting. Yeah. It's... That's a very dangerous hairstyle, by the way. Even if I like this hairstyle, not gonna lie, but it's dangerous in anime. Claire replied, but it really looked like she wasn't feeling well. It was noon, and we have met in the park at our usual spot. Nothing is working out at the moment. She finished her thought. Maybe it's the heat? I said just to keep the conversation going. Even though it was completely wrong. We have spent the last hours in an air-conditioned offices. I know why I even said that. Hey, hope your test results were okay. She said suddenly, smiling at me almost apologetically. Yeah, my heart is roughly 10% better than a regular man my age. Oh, that's wonderful, she exclaimed. Yeah, I am really happy. I said all my happiness was more of a relief. Not that I had too many reasons to worry, but there is always that bit of doubt whenever I go to the doctor. One can never really know. We walked a bit in the noon sun. Claire seemed to get slightly better, although... Hey, she suddenly said. Yes, I replied. Actually it's nothing, sorry. Are you alright? Did something happen? I asked directly. I couldn't let her be in this state. If she wanted to talk, I wanted her to know that she could. I've been better, actually, she said in a slightly self-depreciating way, smiling. Is it the heat or... No. The heat is... Well, it's terrible, but... Once again she smiled. That's not the problem, she said. And the way she said it, it let me know that the source of her discomfort was not physical. There was a bit of silence as I struggled to continue the conversation. My first impulse was asking whether I could help. But maybe that would be too forward. Or maybe it would seem I was already trivializing her problem. I didn't want to seem disrep, okay. Oh, sorry, stop. Disresp, okay. She said, continuing. If I had to... Well, no, it's actually... Claire was trying to formulate her thoughts. I kept silent. So my situation is that it's one of those things. It's... No one can help me through it. I have it to do it myself. She smiled again. There was a mix of resignation and kindness in her voice. I understand. I smiled back. I understood that me knowing about her situation on that level was the best I could do to help. Just knowing about it. It was... alright. I really understood. For the next few minutes we walked in silence. Claire was often taking deep breaths and looking around as if to take in the beauty of the day. Because as much as it was hot, it was also very nice. These things don't ever go away, Claire said, breaking the silence. I feel she must be referring to that thing that was on her mind. They don't. I said, hoping she'd take my agreement as condensation. But I felt I knew what kind of water she was referring to in general. She smiled kindly, as to thank me for not prodding. Will you manage? I asked, knowing fully how general our discussion has become. It was the kind of conversation that hinged on several implications being true, almost bordering on the abstract or ridiculous. But I didn't want to ask her directly, because I felt like she didn't want me to. So,
actually no, I'll probably not manage,
she said with a nervous but honest smile. Again, I found myself thinking to ask whether there was anything I could do, but I felt it would be insulting not to assume it was implied. We've known each other for too long. She knew I would help her in a heartbeat. As Claire paused to take a drink, with every passing moment my mind was conjuring up images. I hope it wasn't a health problem. Ever since my sister died unexpectedly, I've been terrified of situations like this. And I will forever hate her for not telling me sooner. Even now when I think.
So, hey, I meant to ask you, but how are your preparations going?
She asked, signaling she wanted to change the topic. Oh, yeah. It's all mostly done, really. So there is just packing.
All flight tickets and everything bought.
Yeah.
You're so much more organized than I would be.
She smiled. Oh. I think you would be similar to me.
Huh? I don't know.
Well, alright. The difference is really that I'm just going back home. So it's all ready for me anyway. I just need to come back.
I guess that's true. I still own my apartment in Rome. And there's no need to apply for visas and deal with immigration.
And I found that everything else was kind of falling in place for me easily, so. Claire nodded slightly.
I often wanted to ask you, do you feel that that's your home?
What do you mean? I didn't understand what Claire meant.
Oh, sorry. I meant to say if you consider Namur your home. If you feel like you're going home now, in a sense. Because I don't feel like it. Like if I were to return back to France,
Claire said, and I immediately felt a bit of a guilt. Because what she said made me realize I've not really given this much thought. I was born and raised in Belgium, and even though I adopted my daughter as an infant from a different country, she was also raised in Belgium. And it was only when she grew up and later moved to Luxembourg that I considered and then took this job in Japan, and goddamn you people live in some fancy countries. So I've lived in 2 countries, and the truth is my move back to Namur should feel like returning home. Except
I just don't feel, I don't know. Everyone here says I'm French, but
no, I really, you made me realize I've never thought of it this way, but you know, it just never registered like this.
I mean, it doesn't mean I feel Japanese. I just,
well, but you say that, but I said inspired by her thoughts. Really, honestly, if you ask me if I feel Belgian or Japanese, actually,
you would.
Claire got visibly excited, as she always does whenever we stumble upon the topic of mutual agreement or even interest. Yes, actually, I mean, I don't know what's going on in Belgium. I don't follow anything in there. I read Japanese news, watch Japanese television.
Exactly. Thank you,
she added victoriously. But immediately,
I actually didn't mean that way. I just want to say that it's me that I call Japan home now, so I didn't want to say Belgium should feel like home.
No, of course, but you're actually right, so... I said, not knowing exactly why she tried to back away or soften that conclusion for me.
I just don't feel like an expat, so...
No, I get that. Home is home.
Yeah, I guess home is what feels like home.
She said as if thanking me. So for me, I guess I just want to... I feel like I want to be closer to my grandson from here. It takes 1,000,000 hours and organizing. And from Namur I can just drive to Luxembourg in less than 2 hours, so...
Yeah, I get that. I mean, you know...
Just how old is the guy, by the way?
I don't have a grandkid, but...
Then again, I mean, he said he adopted, so... maybe he adopted early and the kid was already in the teens. Yeah, that would make sense. Anyway, sure. I'll acknowledge her point. Alright, see you.
See you.
We said as we reached... our office buildings. I blurted out while thinking, so I never really realized. And Claire, I think she also didn't realize that was our goodbye. Right? Or something, no? Finally, my day at the office was over. I stopped to stretch as I walked into the scorching heat. It would be a nightmare getting home. Trams will be crowded, walking these clothes will cause me a lot of discomfort. But it can be helped. I wish I could simply appear home. But no, and have all my grocery shopping done. That would be nice. Instead for this heat. It's unbearable. Part 3, fever, 42 Celsius.
Hey.
Ridiculous. As most days, I decided to walk home because I hate trams so much. Understandable. I hate that I had to be stationary in them, sitting while they move. That? Really? I would hate, you know what? The fact that there are freaking sweaty people around. Anyway, and then it stops and I hate those moments the most. The sun is often in my face through the window. The air conditioning can't handle all the crowds. It's so terrible every time I do it that I really prefer not to. Walking takes longer, but it's more bearable. Even if my clothes start to feel heavy and uncomfortable after a short while. Hey, I mean, it's kind of a good workout of sorts.
Hi there, Heatwalker.
I heard a familiar voice rushing behind me. You? I replied, smiling. She has obviously seen me as she walked out her building and caught up to me.
I think I'll join you today,
Claire said in a happy voice. That's very, I pretended to try to find words for...
insane?
It's not exactly walking weather today, I said, looking at her as she was almost laughing. It seemed as though whatever was on her at noon was off her mind.
Anyway, you have to show me your famous drinking route. I need to know your secrets before you leave for good,
she said, and I smiled. For a brief second, I almost made me fully realize just how close I was to leaving Japan forever. And that this is very likely the last chance we ever get to do this. And I'm sure we'll meet for dinner or something like that before I actually go away. But this kind of everyday walk. I suddenly realized I was silent even though Claire had said something before. Not wanting to seem like my mind was wandering, I quickly turned my attention to conversation. Alright, I'll show you the route. I actually passed by your apartment building, so it's perfect. She smiled. I live a bit further away from our offices than she does, but we both are along the same route. It used to be that we even met in the tram in the morning occasionally before Claire's working hours shifted a bit. Well, alright then, let's go. And with that, we set off. My route was going to be a long walk from the city center to the port, and in the course of that walk, I got into the habit of buying drinks from the vending machines along the way. To my house it was about an hour and a half, so I usually drank 3 bottles that I bought at specific locations along the way. It was almost a routine I had. Claire's apartment building was about halfway through the route, so it would be less than an hour for her to get home. We talked about our days and how Claire was preparing to go to Matsuyama next week. I was just going to say that we should not forget making some time to get together before I leave when...
Excuse me.
Claire said after her phone buzzed and she looked at it. Expecting her to either text or call back, she just pressed the button to silence it. I regretted looking her way, because now I had to acknowledge the fact that she obviously didn't want to engage with whomever was sending her the messages. Not knowing what to do, I smiled. For it didn't feel like it from her reaction, the way she silenced the phone. It would just have been some irrelevant automatic notification. After she put the phone away, Claire looked at me, and for a second it looked as if she was going to say something. And with every passing millisecond of that moment, I grew more and more sure that...
If it's this, I don't...
She said suddenly with a great deal of frustration. Something wrong? I tried to help her formulate her thoughts.
No, it's... My parents are just...
She said, and I immediately understood the situation. It was almost certainly the thing that was on her mind during our lunch break. Like a deep old wound, it was opened again, and she was in an initial state of shock. Don't let it get to you. I replied, trying to leave it up to Claire to share what happened. Claire's relationship with her parents was very bad. And I know that every now and then they...
It's so silly,
I let her find words.
It's such a bad...
She said almost as if to herself, and then suddenly she took a deep breath. She exhaled slowly, smiling. It does matter, Claire. I said to reinforce what it felt she was reminding herself of.
I know, thank you.
She was trying to say the words that she already uttered once or twice in our conversations, but which were still hard to say. You don't need to say it, I said, so she didn't have to. And she smiled, shaking her head. It seemed to instantly bring back her happiness.
I'm going to really miss you here,
she suddenly said in a way that had something inadvertent about it. I'm going to miss you too, I said in a reciprocal way to lighten the mood.
Really? Miss hearing about my family problems?
She replied, smiling again. Yes, I said, because I just couldn't think of any funny comeback for that. She kept smiling, as if she knew my brain short-circuited for a moment. For a second my eyes welled up because...
Moved you to tears, didn't I?
Claire said, noticing immediately. Her happy tone made it even worse. And this situation, I didn't even understand how it came crashing down me in a matter of minutes. Maybe because I knew how much she went through. And if she were to go through all of it again, I wiped my tears. Well, at least you know I'm not just saying it, I said, not dwelling on this condition of mine. By now, she knew that occasionally I'd tear up during sudden spikes of emotion. And although she also knew that it was more a physical reaction than a signifier of importance. Signifier, but whatever. I was sure she knew that I meant what I said to.
I do,
she said silently. I said nothing, pointing at the nearby drinks vending machine.
Oh yeah, let's have some. I should have listened to you, you know.
Claire said suddenly as we made our way further along the river. She must have meant the last time this happened. The time when I encouraged her to break all contact with her parents. Because I saw it as the only way for her to go on. And Claire couldn't bring herself to continue. I kept silent. It was alright. I hinted towards the alley, as to say, we wouldn't be taking this bridge. Because I want to take this one.
I just wanted to thank you.
She said with a much calmer voice than a few minutes ago. I smiled as to say it was alright.
But
Claire was trying to...
I've always, well...
Oh, because I'm a parent myself.
Yeah.
She said with a sigh of relief. I understand. I try not to think like that, but... I hope Esther doesn't break off contact with me, ever. I said, smiling as I realized the ridiculousness of that wish.
She won't, don't worry.
Claire said in a determined voice. Well, who knows how I'll be in the future? I replied honestly. We reached the other side in silence. I'm
just so tired of this, you know.
Claire said, looking for words, but I already knew the scope and depth of what she meant. There was no need for her to say anymore. You deserve to be happy, Claire, I said, agreeing with what she implied she wanted to do.
I really don't want to ever.
I understand. I said firmly but with a heavy heart. Images of Esther someday doing this sort of thing to me flashed through my head.
And you don't mind?
Claire suddenly, in a seemingly illogical way. I felt I understood what she meant to say. You don't owe them anything. I said, feeling uneasy about the implications. I mean every word, but...
You promise, okay? You promise me that. When I completely break down.
Claire's voice was shaking.
And I will.
She added with a smile, trying as much as she could to lighten the situation for herself.
That you will.
Immediately I felt like I knew what she was going to say and to assure her as quickly as possible. Well, of course, I will be. I said. But only while saying those words I understood. I'd be leaving Japan. I would not be able to be there for her like I was last time. Claire was looking at me with kind eyes, seeing that I realized. Claire, I didn't know what to say.
Hey, it's alright. It's not the end of the world. If I don't make it, that's so.
Claire said, as if reassuring me.
And I don't even think I'd have the energy anymore to even start. I'll just let my body protect me again.
She smiled in reference to the last time she went through everything. In the end, she was so exhausted that she could feel no pain anymore. I don't know what this is about exactly, but it's touching the soul somehow. We walked in silence and reached her apartment building. And somehow...
Hey, when did you... I just want to walk some more.
Her voice. It was the kind of voice that made me immediately realize that she needs me to say yes. As if she was asking me for a favor, and I... Yes, we can go, it's no problem. In fact, this way we'll see the whole Lynx route. I smiled, deliberately not drawing attention to the seemingly illogical request to walk further.
That would be nice.
You just stay with her, for heaven's sake, you clearly have a kink for each other. Ah, she said kindly. And the simplicity and lack of any tone just underlined how genuinely thankful she was. Or just take her with you. She was just being herself, I felt. We walked towards the port, continuing to talk. I was happy we got this extra time because we have worked out the time and place of our goodbye lunch, as we called it. I feel like some kind of update is about to pop up. I was going to be on a Saturday, and I felt like we both really liked the idea of a lunch rather than a dinner. And even if I couldn't know why Claire liked it too. I liked it because I felt like we'd have more time before the day would end. If we met for dinner, it would mean much less time until the day was done. And I was almost certain we'd end up just going for a walk or something to talk some more. And the way Claire was also immediately in favor of the lunch, it really made me happy. Even though it may not have been for the same reasons. Still, I did hope it was. We came to the port in good spirits. I was surprised at how happy I was that we have arranged that lunch together. I suppose it took the situation to make me aware of just how much it meant to me to be able to let her know how important she is for me. Final part. Scourge. We don't even know how hot it is outside anymore. We came to a junction, where it was only a few minutes to my house now. But because the tram station, the one I go in the mornings, was so close, it was logical for me that I would offer to walk to the station with Claire. And wait until her tram was ready to go. And then walk home. Even Claire started to walk almost automatically towards the station, hesitating just for a millisecond but continuing as she saw me intuitively moving in that direction too. And even though I felt the logic of that situation being almost a little oppressive, it didn't seem like there was anything I could do about it. There was if we hadn't turned towards the tram station at that junction, there was a small beach not far from where I lived, that I've mentioned to Claire in previous conversations, but that she's never been to. I could have perhaps suggested we extend our walk even further to go around the island. And we could go see that beach. Even though it wasn't much of a beach, we could still get back to the tram station. It would just take 30 more minutes. But it was alright. Suddenly I snapped out my thoughts looking at Claire. And realized that we were already at the tram platform. Have we been silent all this time since the junction? I guess we must have been.
5 minutes,
Claire said, by which she meant the time until her tram departs.
I need something to drink. Do you want something too?
She asked in a way that instantly took me back to the beginning of our walk. Oh no, thank you. I'll have something at home, I said, watching her nod slightly and walk towards the vending machine. I stood near the tram that was already parked at the platform. The board showed 4 minutes. And, looking at Claire as she was putting the coins to the machine and pressed to get her favorite drink, I was sure she was going to be doing this. Buying drinks from the vending machines like this. When I'm gone, she would stay here. When she came back, the board showed 3 minutes. And me. That image of her at the vending machine. It was all I could think of. It was Claire. It was her. The Claire I had fallen in love with some time ago. And whom I still love to just be in the presence of. The same Claire whom I had an instant connection with when I arrived in Japan. And whom I can talk to about anything, and she understands what I mean. And I was going to leave. And she would stay here. And there was nothing that could be done about it. Of course there could be something done. She would never leave Japan for France. That much I knew. But, I mean, she might leave for Belgium. And my daughter was going to raise her family in Luxembourg. It would never even cross my mind to ask her if she would be willing to move to Japan. I mean, your daughter has her own life, man. And I felt it was terrible because there wasn't anything I could do about it. I couldn't give up seeing my grandchild grow up. There was so much I needed to do. I want to hold that little boy just as I have held Esther. Okay, how old is this guy, by the way? Still, yet in the end, it's different then. Turns out, he didn't adopt Esther when she was like a teen or whatever. Anyway, to just stare at him in silence while he sleeps in my arms. And then put him gently into his bed. And then I wanted to be a good grandpa. To take him on trips and just to be with him. Or just look at Esther holding him and feel like when I've lived to see that image. I felt the joke go through me, as the bell signaling the imminent departure of the tram had sounded. I realized we must have stood there in silence for the last 2 minutes and... Claire. I immediately teared up. Looking at me with ever more tears running down her cheeks, Claire took my hands. And I felt like a million shocks run through my body at the same time. Triggering at once all my memories with her and the feelings I still had for her and all the impossible daydreams I have come up with before. Not only to be immediately flooded with questions upon questions materializing in my mind. The final bell sounded, but I didn't let go of her hands. And she made no movements to indicate she even considered getting in the tram. We stood there, with tears in our eyes, but none of us made an effort to wipe them because we were holding our hands more and more firmly. The tram left, leaving no doubt about the situation anymore. On instinct, we started moving away from the platform. We wanted to just walk. Still holding both our hands together, walking awkwardly beside each other like that. It didn't matter. All that mattered was that we were walking together. Those are some nice pictures, by the way. When I woke from what seemed like a dream, I realized I must have led Claire to that small beach I was meaning to show her.
It's the beach.
Claire suddenly said, and I realized she recognized it as the place I had mentioned to her before. Yes. I said in response when...
Don't go.
She said, averting her eyes and breaking down into tears. As if on instinct she embraced me, not attempting to hide that she couldn't look into my eyes when saying those words. And I thought she said nothing more. She held me on so tight that there was no other way for me to understand what she was doing than that she was asking me to forgive me. Claire. I knew her. I knew her and she was not a person who would not understand, so she must have. And I... The millions of thoughts that were rushing to my consciousness. All of them, I will stay here. It was as if a different me said those words, but I was happy because it was so simple and without really realizing it, I found myself looking at Claire, who was looking at me as if paralyzed by my words. Her eyes, still wet from tears, were looking at me. Their warmth of killing my hidden feelings of guilt. Allow me to think about what I've said and somehow be intoxicated by the clarity of everything. I'll call it all off. The move and everything. And Esther, she'll understand, I know. And I said, it's not impossible. I will convince them to give me back my job. And I will get a partial refund on my flight ticket and I'll figure out the house too. I continued, with determination as strong as I could express it, because I want to leave no trace of doubt in Claire's mind. It was truly so clear. Claire immediately burst into tears again. She took my hands to hers again without even attempting to say anything. And even thought there was reasoning behind what had just revealed itself to me. In that moment, it meant nothing anymore. And all that mattered were the two of us. The goodbye dinner became meaningless, and thought it probably would still take place. It would be just another one in a series. It was supposed to be lunch, by the way. In the series of meals we'd be sharing from now on. Because I would stay with Claire. And she would stay with me. We had to stay together, otherwise none of us would be happy. And because our happiness mattered to us. We needed to take it. Otherwise it would never come to us on its own. Because there is no solution to any possible situation. There is only a choice that can be made. Claire embraced me again.
You said...
She was saying through tears, and soon as I heard it, mine were flowing too.
That Okono...
That Okono... What? I tried to say...
Miyaki, yes, that place.
We were laughing from all the happiness that we felt. Claire and I were hungry now. The End. A visual novel by Mikey. Art by Didulas. Heatwalker. Music by Kai Engel. Audio by Mike Koenig. Photography written and directed by Mikey. ATP Projects 2017. Thank you for playing. Thank you for listening to you guys as well, or watching, or both. That was good. I'm glad it ended in that manner, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Still thought they were supposed to go for a lunch, not dinner. Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it well, sorry. Burp. I enjoyed it a lot, and you know, I remember enjoying ATP Projects games a lot back in the day as well, so I'm glad I today like kicked myself in the back and picked some of those games up, you know, because, well, I mean, we recorded quite a few already. I recorded, sorry, I recorded for you quite a few already. And I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. How many did I record? 3? That's the third. No, that's the 4th one. Damn! 4 games in one day. That's ridiculous. Anyway, that was Heatwalker. Hope you enjoyed. Whoa, I did something weird now. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next game. Of course, meanwhile, you can go check Katawasha because it's still ongoing, of course. And I hope to see you there in the other video. Bye bye.